You might be interested in learning more about charisma, how to evolve charisma. What is charisma? The great Quentin Crisp said, charisma is the ability to influence without using logic. That's a wonderful definition of charisma, I think, the ability to persuade and influence through the nature of your character, not simply through rational argument, not simply through materialism, but by accessing some inner intuitive, call it what you will, prana, chi, mojo, essence, potency. Unlock your true nature. Most theologies, religions, folkloric traditions believe that within us there is a kind of latent twin, an unrealized, unlived life, a great force of energy within you that is unlocked. Perhaps when you're calling upon God, you're not calling upon some abstract force, but rather some inner potency that has become lost, locked and jaded by continually living in the cultural ephemera of our time. You know, that you continually like, oh hello, I am me, I'm sat here going from place to place, living out your rational life, never reflecting on the fact that we live happily amidst the infinite, that there are great unused forces within you. Now I reckon that the secret to charisma is being able to be present. In fact, people speak frequently, don't they, of presence. This person has a real presence. You know that Michael Jordan, in that documentary about him, you know, Last Dance, in one of the final episodes, a commentator said what Michael Jordan's great gift was not related to athleticism, although of course anyone that reaches that kind of level has to have those attributes. He said that he was more of a mystic. He had the ability to remain absolutely in the present. Neither is charisma necessarily about physical beauty. It needn't be an aesthetic thing. Have you not met people in your life that you think, wow, there's just something about this person that I am drawn to? Of course there is chemistry too. Not all of us will find the same people charismatic, the same way as we don't all have good sexual chemistry or good convivial friendship type chemistry between one another. There are certain ways that we interlock. Regardless though, if you're interested in charisma, what I reckon you are really interested in is becoming your authentic self, becoming the person you're intended to be. Now, obviously, that could be a lifelong journey, but if you let it take your whole life, then where are you going to be using this charisma? In the afterlife, in the soil. So, how I reckon you unlock this charisma is, firstly, how much of your time are you spending living in fear or living in your intellectual landscape, locked into your mind, locked into inner reflection? That's no good. I think to be charismatic in conversation with other people, like say for me, when I was more interested in like celebrity oriented things, I was going on talk shows a lot. What I'd really try and do is listen to the person that I was communicating with. Or now if I'm in a meeting or if I'm in a social situation, and I still do suffer from some social anxiety, one of the ways I overcome it is by making a decision to really genuinely listen to the person that I'm communicating with and let go absolutely of the idea of getting something from that exchange. I let go of the idea that I'll get approval or plaudits or anything from that exchange. I try to channel myself into a kind of state of how can I be of service to this person. That's when I remember to do it. Sometimes, of course, like anybody, I'm trapped up in the sort of miasma of my own self-centeredness, and all I'm thinking is, oh, I want something, I'm insecure, that kind of claptrap that goes on, the static of the mind, those constant interruptions that we're tethered to. I don't think necessarily inadvertently, because we live, don't we, in the sort of shash of our conventional systems, our busy cities, burrowing continually into our mind, webbing us to the ordinary, never allowing us to flourish. But when I'm my better self, when I'm my higher self, I think, who is this person that's before me? Think of the limitless mysteries in them. Access the point within them that's the same as my own awareness. When you're talking to another human being, I've had it suggested that that you ought look into their left eye, that the creative mind is the left side. You know all of that stuff, don't you? It's obviously massively reductive because neurology is incredibly complex. But the idea of focusing on an eye, looking at a person, don't do it psychotically, don't stare at a person continually. Some people don't like that. You don't like it, do you, Jen? You don't like too much eye contact. So just choose it, look away for a little bit while you're talking, then bang, little bit of eye contact, then have a little look around, bang, little bit of eye contact. You know, look at people, listen to them. Open your heart when you're communicating to them. Think about your own breath. Think about being present. Well, don't think about. Stay with your own breath. Be present in the moment and listen to them absolutely. Consider when you're in relationship with another person that you are two individuals by some miracle alive in this moment, temporarily, only briefly, a flash of light and consciousness in an apparently dark universe, although I would say that darkness is embedded with and stitched with all kinds of light not ascertainable to us with our limited sensory instruments. Regardless, here on this realm, on this plane, in this moment, in this time, if you can be uncluttered from your own mental static, if you can focus on another person, if you cannot be dominated by your own fears, this essentially means that you need to spend time working on yourself, ensuring that you deal with your own neurosis, psychosis, and your fears and your anxiety so that you actually can be present in the moment. 1, be present. 2, listen. 3, think only of being of service to that person. That's 3 really great tips for being more charismatic. Charisma, the ability to influence without logic, or is it simply being present in the moment, allowing yourself to be present, allowing the invisible forces that are somewhat difficult to comprehend, whether that's consciousness, awareness itself, or more I don't know, esoteric and difficult to explain energetic phenomena that surely travel between us. Recently I was in the river with my wife. We found a weeping willow tree and it formed a hallowed and beautiful private space. Curtained from the world, we sat on a paddleboard together in intimacy and privacy on the same paddleboard, and whenever a boat would go by, of course the waves of the river would move us and rock us, and I said to her, surely there are more subtle forms of energy than air and water that are interrupted and disrupted when a person comes into a room, when a person conveys their energy. Sometimes I imagine, I used to do this a lot when I used to go into early American talk shows. I remember doing it with Conan, and Conan O'Brien was always very nice to me when I was on his talk show. I was told once by a brilliant teacher, imagine an arc of light between your heart and the heart of the other person. Imagine yourself absolutely connected to that person. Consider the deep truth that we are all one, that we are awareness looking back at awareness, that all material things will, through entropy and time, move apart. But this great awareness, this subtle energy, this fundamental condition of the universe, awareness itself, will remain. There is a bridge between us. This is how I would approach the matter of becoming more charismatic or more present.